what does your short game routine look like and like putting routine? Is that something you've kind of like, owned in over the years? Was that even something you were thinking about when you were playing as a pro? I know you had a Q school, what, 5, 6 months ago? Like what does that routines look like for other parts of your game?
I played to a +5 last year in my tournaments, and I have not practiced a flop shot in 2 or 3 years. I've got it to where I'm like, if I'm in a bad spot, I just really need to like not screw this up. And I just need
Mm,
to avoid that bad spot. So if I get into a bad, like a materially bad spot once to twice around, you know what, if I can just make a bogey there, I'm going to do all right everywhere else. And then circling back to the Tiger 5 mistakes, no blown easy saves is what
mm,
Tiger technically tracked. I changed that into two chip just for my amateurs and decade. But if
mm-hmm.
I can utilize the no blown easy saves, I just want to get really good at the pitch shots where you're like, man, I should get this up a huge percentage of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really honestly even know what that number is, somewhere between 70 and 90% of the time type up and downs.
Mm-hmm.
And all I do for my chipping practice is I just lay out if we're if we're hitting off of grass at my home course, I literally just lay these tees straight out in front of me and I just hit the range balls. I lay tees out at 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 20, and 30 yards.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to hit stock chip shots, carrying them that far.
Mm-hmm.
I have started to add now because I've definitely like, you know what? I can get pretty close to playing on the Champions Tour. Can I really do it? I don't know, just because I don't know if I can get my travel schedule and all that stuff, but I'm pretty close to being like quasi competitive out there. So this year I'm going to try to add I'm not going to call it a flop shot, but just a little bit more of a trajectory shot
Mm-hmm.
and not even one for like 5 to 9 yards because I'm like that really should probably just be a chip shot if I'm that far off the green.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a flop shot.
Right.
But if I start getting into that 9 to 13 yard where the pin's only 5 yards on and I'm having to hit a little bit more of a trajectory, so I
Mm-hmm.
am now trying to get a little bit better at those. But that's all I do. I have
So
not
do you
hit.
in your routine then? I'm just trying to because like I talked to Derek Dominski. I know you've worked with him, and great guy,
That's where I
and
got it from.
yeah. So like he had me kind of shift my routine. I was to like trying to feel a position if I'm 30 yards, which is my knee, or if you want to do the clock system. So like I'm trying to do that for like the 30 to 70 partial lob wedges. But you're saying
Sure.
for like the short game shots, when you're saying like, do you pace it off and say, hey, this is my 7 yard, this is my 11 yard?
So what I tell people to do is like take I can hit it softer, but like if I just take a normal chip shot,
Mm-hmm.
so just like the kind of the softest I can hit a normal chip,
Mm-hmm.
that for me carries 5 yards.
Okay.
All the way up to if I take my hands basically to parallel to hip height and the
Mm-hmm.
club is parallel to the ground. So if I do that, it's 15 yards.
Okay.
So now I've got positions in between there. So where 5 is kind of as soft as I can hit it.
Mm-hmm.
How I feel it in my head is 7 is just a little bit more hand travel.
Okay.
9 is a little bit more, and then 11 is where it starts feeling more like a pitch to me. So
Okay.
5, 7, 9 are chips.
Okay.
11 is starting to get a pitch. 13 is just short of that parallel number. And then 20 is I cock my hands up just a little bit.
Mm.
And then 30 is just a shade longer than that, but I actually try to hit it. So I
Okay.
actually try to put a little
Put a
energy
little
into it.
emphasis into it. Okay.
And then
That's
to be perfectly
helpful.
honest, from 30 to let's call it 50 yards,
Hmm.
I just try to not put it there. I mean, I just literally don't practice it
Yeah.
at all. And
Okay.
so then at 50, I know where my point is in like the Pell's clock system, rest in
Sure.
peace. I know
Yep.
what 50, 60, 70, and I actually have a way that I go on all my chip shots, I use like a reverse overlap putting grip.
Okay.
And so at 60, it's kind of like as far as I can take it back without like using any wrist set with the
Hmm.
reverse overlap. 65 is the same spot, but I try to hit it.
Okay.
And then at 70, I go to my normal interlocking grip, same position, because that's going to start getting more wrist and more strength into it.
You're an
And then
interlock. I
so
didn't realize that.
I go 70, and again, so it's like the same
Okay.
positions.
Uh-huh.
70's interlocking. 75 is as hard as I can hit it. Like I don't hit
It,
my short irons very far. 75 is basically as hard as I can hit. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm swinging my ass off, but
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's as hard as I'm going to hit a 60. And
Hmm.
then at 80 yards, I go back to the reverse overlap in my 54, and it's that dead-handed shot. dead-handed with
That's a lot
speed is
going on
moving.
here, man. You
It's
just
really
know.
not though.
Well, you're
I
talking
mean,
about different grips and different positions. You just know all this, or do you have like a little card in your yardage book?
I've just done it a billion times. I just know.
Okay.
But again, it's really not. So let's say 60, 60 is the same spot as 65. 65, I'm just trying to hit it.
Okay.
70 is the same. 70 is probably a little bit longer, but just because of going interlocking, my hands are naturally going to get more wrist set,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to turn that 65 into 70. Now hitting it hard. So I've really got two positions and two grips and
Okay.
two energies.
Have you ever
And
heard of
they're,
anyone doing two grips? I have not heard of that yet.
dude, again, I've got a bunch of tour players that I've
I know you work with the best. That's why legitimately
taught that
asking.
to.
I've seen the cross-handed chipping, which I tried at the range, and it was comical how bad that was. So props to Matt Fitzpatrick. But is that something that you do see at the high level?
I wouldn't say it. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely have guys. I definitely have guys. So I started doing it because I got a little yip. This is what's actually weird is I started getting a little yippy with a chip.
Uh-huh.
And so I went to my putter grip and be like, you mean so your putter grip wasn't yippy? It wasn't because it's a chip shot motion.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a putt.
Mm-hmm.
But by going to this reverse overlap, it naturally takes your wrist out of it as opposed to whatever, even if you're just like an overlap or reverse overlap, overlap or interlock regular grip,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to kind of naturally because of you're more used to your swing by going to that reverse overlap. It just for everyone I've seen, and so a lot of the guys that I work with that are high speed players,
Mm-hmm.
that then just can't, like I just can't hit a shot 40 yards because they just like breathe on it. It just explodes off the club face. That's just because they can't get that wrist set and hit out of it.
Uh-huh.
You go to that and it just takes them out of them. So I'm not going to say you see a bunch of guys doing it, but I definitely have a bunch of tour players that will do that in practice
Uh-huh.
and then go back to their regular grip when playing for I don't understand why. Uh,
I guess I
but
got to trust it. Yeah, that's interesting.
they can just feel the club head speed. The lob wedge, I think this is accurate. I could be wrong, but I think the lob wedge basically launches at like a 1-to-1 smash factor, kind of
Mm-hmm.
through some speed and forward shaft lean and everything like that, dynamic loft, whatever you call it. And so I think that guys, once they can feel that club head and how fast it needs to be moving to hit a shot 60, they're so good that they can go back to whatever grip but they can feel the club head speed better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I just want to, so to clarify, when you're doing your chipping, like you said, because I'm at plus 2.5 right now. Goals to get to +5 one day, like you. But I feel like the chipping could be better in that area because I have the matrix set up for the 30 to 60, like Derek taught me. But I think even inside, like you're just saying, so when you're doing your practice strokes next to the golf ball, excuse me, rehearsal strokes, I like to call them, you're actually thinking, okay, this is, at my waist. This is like you're kind of telling yourself that position.
Well, and so one thing that I was doing, I don't have to do it as much anymore, but one thing I was doing, so like let's say I had an 11 carry, I would
Mm-hmm.
just go 5, 7, 9,
Ooh, okay.
11. And so I would build into it because again,
Ooh,
and so like if I'm playing a tournament round or just a round of golf and I don't have time for like, let's
all
just even
that.
call
Yeah.
it 10 minutes of chipping,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll just sit there until I kind of own that 5 yard number and
Mm,
then 15 yards. So I'll just hit 7 or 8 chips, 5 yards, 7 or 8 chips, 15 yards. And
mm-hmm.
once I own those two, I kind of know like it's just a sliding scale in between those positions.
Okay.
And so once I've warmed up 5, I'm going to own 7 and 9.